The first night on Haven's Gate was the quietest night Daho had experienced in months. No engine hum, no recycled air whisper, just the sounds of an alien forest and wind through strange trees. He sat outside the crashed ship, looking up at stars he didn't recognize. The crew had set up a camp using supplies from the cargo bay. They had food for 6 months. Water could be filtered from the nearby stream. They could survive here, but survival wasn't the mission. Minji spent the next 3 days studying the local ecosystem. She collected samples, recorded data, and filled notebooks with observations. She discovered that the metallic trees were actually partially silicon-based. The animals used a different protein structure than Earth life. Everything was familiar enough to understand, but different enough to be fascinating. "It's incredible," she told Daho. "This ecosystem is even more delicate than I thought, but also more resilient in some ways. Life here adapts quickly, evolves fast. It's like the whole planet is designed for rapid change." "Does that change anything?" Daho asked. "About colonization?" Minji shook her head. "No. Human colonization would still be catastrophic, just in different ways than I originally thought." Meanwhile, Taejin and Hyunwoo worked on salvaging what they could from the ship. Most systems were dead, but they managed to get the communication array working enough to build a beacon, and they secured the biovault, making sure the genetic samples remained preserved. Hana kept watch. She built a scanner from ship parts that could detect movement within 100 kilometers. Every day, Sangwook's forces got closer. They were moving slowly, probably injured and struggling through difficult terrain, but they were coming. On the 5th day, Hyunwoo made an announcement. "I have been processing the problem," the synthetic said. "The ethical dilemma of the promise versus the preservation of life. I believe I have found a potential solution." Everyone gathered around him. "We cannot establish a traditional colony without destroying the ecosystem. This is fact. However, the biovault does not contain living people. It contains genetic material, DNA, the building blocks of life. What if we do not establish a colony now, but instead plant the seeds of one for the future?" "I don't understand," Hana said. "We create a repository, a living archive. We plant the genetic material across the planet in carefully selected locations. We let it integrate slowly with the environment. Over centuries, when humanity has learned to colonize without destroying, they can return. The colonists' DNA will be here waiting. Their children can be born then, not now." "That's not what Captain Yoonji wanted," Daho said. "She wanted a colony, a home. She wanted her people to have a future," Hyunwoo corrected. "She wanted their dream to live. This way it can. Not today, but eventually." Minji's eyes lit up. "It could work. If we distribute the genetic material correctly, in stable conditions, it could remain viable for thousands of years. And if we build it right, the DNA could actually integrate with the local ecosystem, become part of it. When humans return, they won't be invading. They'll be coming home to a world that already contains their ancestors." "But we'd need equipment we don't have," Taejin said. "Storage units, environmental controls, power systems that can run for centuries." "We have a ship full of parts," Hyunwoo said, "and we have time. 6 days before Sangwook arrives. We can build what we need." Daho looked at each of them. They were tired and dirty and stranded on an alien world, but their eyes held hope. Maybe this was the answer. Maybe this was how to honor both promises. "Do it," he said. They worked for 5 days straight. Taejin and Hyunwoo built storage units from ship components. Minji selected the sites, places where the genetic material could remain stable for centuries. Hana helped with the calculations, determining the best distribution pattern. And Daho coordinated everything, making sure they stayed on schedule. They created 12 repositories scattered across the northern continent. Each one was buried deep enough to be protected but shallow enough to be found. Each one contained genetic samples from the colonists, carefully preserved in biostasis fields powered by long-life fusion cells. On the evening of the 5th day, Sangwook's forces were 30 kilometers away. They would arrive by morning. Daho made a final trip to each repository, checking the systems one last time. Everything was working. The genetic material would last for thousands of years, waiting for humanity to return, waiting for the children of the Eternal Covenant to finally be born. Back at the camp, they prepared for Sangwook's arrival. But Daho didn't want to fight. Not anymore. He had an idea. When Sangwook and his 8 surviving crew members emerged from the forest, they found Daho waiting alone. The salvager stood in the clearing, unarmed, hands visible. Sang-wook looked terrible. His face was burned. One arm was in a crude sling. His crew was in similar condition. They had weapons, but they looked ready to collapse. "Where's the biovault data?" Sang-wook demanded. "Gone," Daeho said. "Distributed across the planet. You can't take it." "No one can," Sang-wook raised his weapon. "Then you die for nothing." "Wait," Daeho held up a hand. "Look around you. We're both stranded here. Our ships are destroyed. You're injured. My crew is tired. We could fight and some of us would die. Maybe all of us. Or we could work together. Why would I work with you? Because I'm offering you something better than what the conglomerate promised. I'm offering you a purpose," and Daeho told him the plan. "The repositories. The living archive. The promise to the future." He explained how the genetic material was distributed, how it would wait for humanity to return, how Haven's Gate would remain pristine until people were ready to deserve it. "The conglomerate wanted to strip mine this world," Daeho said. "They wanted to take everything and leave nothing. But you've spent days walking through this forest. You've seen the life here, the beauty. Do you really want to destroy it?" Sang-wook was quiet for a long moment. His weapon lowered slightly. "The conglomerate will kill me if I return empty-handed." "Then don't return. Stay here, help us finish the work. We're building a beacon to tell people about this place. To protect it, to make sure it stays safe until humanity is ready. We need help. You and your crew could make a difference. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm also right. You know I am." Sang-wook looked at his injured crew. He looked at the alien forest around them. He looked at the sky where his destroyed ship had fallen. Finally, he lowered his weapon completely. "What do you need us to do?" Together, all 13 humans on Haven's Gate worked on the final task. They built a beacon using parts from both crashed ships. It was a massive transmitter designed to broadcast continuously for centuries. The message was simple but powerful. Daeho recorded it himself. "This is Captain Daeho, speaking for the crew of the Pioneer and the people of the Eternal Covenant. 4,000 years ago, 3,000 colonists left Earth seeking a new home. They never arrived. But their dream survived. Their genetic material is here, preserved across this world called Haven's Gate. We have honored the promise made by Captain Yoonji. We have brought her people to their new home. But we have also honored this living world. We have chosen patience over conquest. We have planted seeds instead of building cities. When humanity is ready, when we have learned to colonize without destroying, return to Haven's Gate. The children of the Eternal Covenant are waiting to be born. But until then, this world is protected. Not by weapons or law, but by the promise that we will do better. That we will be worthy of the homes we seek. Captain Yoonji, your promise is kept." The beacon activated. Its signal reached out into space, carrying the message to any ship that passed nearby. Carrying the story of the Eternal Covenant and the crew that honored a 4,000-year-old promise. 3 months later, a ship responded. Not a conglomerate vessel, but an independent colony transport that had heard the beacon story. They landed and found Daeho's crew, along with Sang-wook and his people, all working together to document Haven's Gate and build additional protections for the repositories. The rescue ship's captain listened to the whole story. She saw the repositories. She read the files on the colonists. She walked through the alien forest and understood why they had made the choice they made. "We'll spread the word," she promised. "Haven's Gate will be protected. The galaxy will know what you did here." Daeho and his crew returned to human space. They were different people than when they left. Hana was no longer blacklisted. Her story made her a hero. Taejin found peace with his past. Minji published papers on Haven's Gate that changed how humanity thought about colonization. Hyunwoo finally fulfilled his purpose as a colony administrator, just not in the way he expected. Even Sang-wook changed. He never returned to the conglomerate. Instead, he joined a coalition of independent worlds that protected pristine planets from exploitation. And Daeho, the old salvager who had spent 30 years alone in space, found something he never expected to find: a family, a purpose, a reason to keep going. 500 years later, Haven's Gate remained untouched, protected by galactic law and watched over by volunteers who called themselves the Eternal Guardians. The beacon still transmitted. The repository still waited. And humanity, slowly learning from its mistakes, worked toward the day when it would be worthy of returning. After 2 weeks of repairs on the frozen planet, the Pioneer launched again. Taejin had fixed the engines and patched the skip drive, but the ship wasn't the same. It ran rougher now, made strange noises, but it would get them to Haven's Gate. The final leg of the journey took another month. They jumped through skip space 3 more times, each jump bringing them closer to their destination. Daeho spent those weeks reviewing the data on the colonists. He read their files, learned their names, studied their faces. They became real to him, not just numbers, people. Then one morning Hana called everyone to the bridge. "There," she said, pointing at the main screen, Haven's Gate. The planet floated before them, a blue-green jewel against the darkness. White clouds swirled across its surface. Oceans gleamed. Continents showed green with life. "It's beautiful," Minji whispered. They entered orbit. Hyunwoo began scanning immediately, his synthetic mind processing data faster than any human could. Atmosphere is breathable. Oxygen levels at 21%. Temperature ranges are suitable for human habitation. Water is abundant. Preliminary scans show no signs of pollution or industrial development. "It's perfect," Daeho said, just like the old survey said. "I'm detecting life," Hyunwoo continued. "Extensive biological systems. Flora and fauna across all continents. The ecosystem is highly developed, but no sapient species." Daeho asked, "No evidence of sapient life? No cities, no structures, no technology?" Minji was already at her station studying the biological data. Her face was tight with concentration. For hours she worked in silence while the others waited. Finally she looked up. "We have a problem." Everyone turned to her. Haven's Gate has an incredibly complex ecosystem. More complex than Earth, actually. The food chain is deeply interconnected. Species depend on each other in ways I've never seen before. It's beautiful, but it's also fragile. "What does that mean?" Daeho asked, though he thought he knew. "It means if we establish a colony here, we'll disrupt everything. Human agriculture will require clearing land. That will destroy habitats. Our waste will contaminate water systems. Introduction of Earth bacteria will kill native species that have no immunity. We'll cause an ecological collapse." The bridge was silent. "How bad?" Hana asked. "Catastrophic. Within 50 years, half the species on this planet could be extinct. Within 100, the entire ecosystem could collapse. Haven's Gate will become another dead world. Beautiful from orbit, but empty of the life that makes it special." Daeho felt something cold in his chest. "You're saying we can't establish the colony?" "I'm saying if we establish the colony the way the original colonists planned, with farms and cities and industry, we'll destroy the very thing that makes this world worth saving." "But we made a promise," Hana said. "Those people died dreaming of this place. Captain Yoonji asked us to finish what she started." "I know," Minji said. "But is it right to honor their dream by destroying an entire planet's worth of life? These species have been evolving here for millions of years. Do we have the right to wipe them out?" "They're not sapient," Taejin pointed out. "They're just animals, plants." "Just animals?" Minji's voice rose. "This planet is alive in ways Earth hasn't been for centuries. We destroyed our own world. Do we have the right to destroy another?" "The colonists," Hana started, "are dead," Minji shouted. "They've been dead for 4,000 years. We can't bring them back." "That's enough," Daeho said quietly. But inside his mind was racing. He had come so far, spent everything, risked everything, all to honor a promise, and now that promise might require destroying something precious. Hyunwoo spoke. "There is no logical solution to this problem. We must choose between 2 values, honoring a promise to the dead or preserving life in the present. Logic cannot determine which is more important." "Then what do we do?" Hana asked. No one had an answer. For 3 days they orbited Haven's Gate while they argued. Daeho and Hana believed they had to honor the promise. They had come too far to give up now. Minji insisted they couldn't sacrifice an entire biosphere. Taejin stayed quiet, torn between his military training that said complete the mission and his conscience that said maybe the mission was wrong. Hyunwoo calculated probabilities and offered no opinions. On the 4th day, everything changed. "Contact," Hana announced. "Ship dropping out of skip space." Daeho's stomach sank. "The Prophet's Edge," confirmed. "It's Sangwook." The damaged conglomerate ship appeared on their screens. It looked worse than before. Patches covered the hull. One engine was completely gone. But it still had weapons, and Sangwook still wanted what they had. The comm crackled. "Pioneer, this ends now. Transfer the BioVault data and we'll let you live." "You'll destroy this planet," Daeho responded. You'll strip mine it for resources. And you'll let it go to waste, Sangwook shot back. At least we'll make use of it. Last chance, Captain. Surrender or die. Daeho looked at his crew. Hana's hands were on the navigation controls, ready to run. Taejin was already rerouting power to the shields. Minji looked terrified. Hyunwoo was calm as always. We can't win a fight, Taejin said. Even damaged, they have more firepower. We can't outrun them either, Hana added. Our skip drive is still damaged. We can use it, but we don't know where we'll end up. Then we go to the planet, Daeho said. We land, make them come after us, and that's insane, Minji said. If we crash, we won't crash. Hana can land us, Hana looked at him, then nodded. I can do it. They dropped toward Haven's Gate, the Prophet's Edge followed, firing weapons. Energy beams cut through space around them. One hit their shields and the ship shook violently. Shields at 60%, Hyunwoo reported. Hold on, Hana said. She pushed the ship into a steep dive, entering the atmosphere at a dangerous angle. The hull heated up. Warning alarm screamed. They were coming in too fast, but it was the only way to avoid the weapons fire. Behind them, the Prophet's Edge entered the atmosphere too. Both ships burned through the sky like falling stars. Hana fought the controls. The ship was shaking itself apart. Panels flew off the hull. One engine exploded, but she held them together through sheer skill and determination. Brace for impact, she shouted. They hit the ground hard. The ship skipped once, twice, 3 times like a stone on water. Trees exploded around them. Rock and dirt sprayed everywhere. Finally, they came to a stop in a valley. For a moment, no one moved. Then Daeho unbuckled his harness. Everyone alive? They were. Bruised and bleeding, but alive. The Prophet's Edge? Daeho asked. Hyunwoo checked his instruments. Most were broken. But one screen still worked. They crashed 200 kilometers west. Their ship is more heavily damaged than ours, but I'm detecting life signs. Some of Sangwook's crew survived. Taejin looked at the damage reports. Our ship is finished. We're not flying again, not without a shipyard and months of repairs. Then we're stranded, Hana said. So is Sangwook, Daeho pointed out. But he'll come for us. He'll want the biovault data. He can't leave without it, or the conglomerate will kill him for failing. How long do we have? Minji asked. 200 kilometers on foot through unknown terrain, Taejin calculated. Depends on how many survived and how badly they're injured. Maybe a week. Maybe 2. Daeho stood up and walked to the cargo bay. The biovault was secure, undamaged by the crash. Inside were the genetic samples of 3,000 people. Their legacy. Their dream. He had brought them to Haven's Gate. He had kept his promise. But now they were stranded on a world they couldn't colonize without destroying it, and Sangwook was coming to take it all away. Daeho looked out at the alien forest surrounding their crashed ship. The trees were tall and strange, with bark that gleamed like metal. Animals called in the distance, sounds unlike anything on Earth. This world was beautiful. It was alive, and somehow he had to figure out how to honor both promises, the one to the dead colonists and the one to this living world. He just didn't know how. The first month of the journey was quiet. Too quiet. Daeho kept expecting something to go wrong, but the Pioneer hummed along smoothly through space. Taejin had done good work preparing the ship. The crew fell into a routine. Hana spent her days plotting their course through the star charts. Minji studied the old survey data from Haven's Gate. Hyunwoo managed the ship's systems with perfect efficiency. Taejin stayed in the engine room, always checking, always maintaining, and Daeho walked the corridors, thinking about 3,000 dead colonists and the promise he had made. They ate together in the small galley. At first no one talked much. They were strangers brought together by a mission. But slowly, over shared meals and long nights in space, they became something more. Hana told them why she was blacklisted. I was navigating a corporate colony ship. We got a distress call from another vessel. Life support failing. 300 people aboard. The captain wanted to ignore it. Said we had a schedule to keep, that helping would cost the company money. I refused. I changed course without authorization. We saved those people. Then the company fired me and made sure I'd never work for anyone else. You did the right thing, Minji said. The company didn't think so, Hana replied, but I'd do it again. Taejin's story came out one night when he had drunk too much recycled alcohol. During the war, I was on a military engineering ship. We responded to colony distress calls, but we were always too late. By the time we arrived, everyone was dead. Life support failed. Food ran out. Pirates hit them. Every time we were too late. I fixed so many ships that didn't have anyone left to use them. The table was quiet. Then Deho spoke. This time we're not too late. This time we can help. They're already dead, Tejan said. Their bodies are dead, but their dream isn't. We can give them that. In the second month, they reached the Shroud. This was a region of space where 3 stars had exploded thousands of years ago. The resulting gravity wells were unstable and unpredictable. Space itself was warped and twisted. Hana spent 2 weeks plotting a safe course. She barely slept, running calculations over and over. The margin for error was tiny. One mistake would tear the ship apart. I've got it, she finally announced. But it's going to be rough. Everyone needs to be strapped in. They entered the Shroud at reduced speed. The ship shook and groaned. Alarms blared as gravity fluctuated wildly. Deho felt his stomach flip as the artificial gravity failed, then snapped back too strong, then failed again. Hana sat at the navigation console, her hands steady on the controls. Sweat ran down her face. She made tiny adjustments, guiding them through the chaos. 1 degree wrong and they would be crushed or torn apart. It took 6 hours to cross the Shroud. When they finally emerged on the other side, everyone was exhausted. Hana collapsed at her station. She had done it. She had gotten them through. Good work, Deho said simply. Hana smiled. For the first time since he met her, she looked truly happy. 3 months into the journey, the conglomerate caught up with them. A fast attack ship called the Prophet's Edge dropped out of skip space behind them. It was sleek and new and armed with weapons that could tear the Pioneer apart. They found us, Hana said, staring at her screen. How? Deho demanded. Yunwu spoke calmly. They must have tagged our ship at the station. A tracking device small enough to avoid our scans. The comm system crackled. A man's voice came through. Pioneer, this is Captain Sangwook of the Prophet's Edge. You have something that belongs to the Gaian conglomerate. Surrender the navigation data and biovault and we'll let you go. Deho activated the comm. The data doesn't belong to the conglomerate. It belongs to the colonists of the Eternal Covenant. We're honoring their legacy. Legacy? Sangwook laughed. They're dead. Dead people don't have rights. You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we'll take what we want. The channel closed. Can we fight them? Deho asked. Tejan shook his head. They have military-grade weapons. We have a cargo ship with basic shields. We can't win. Can we run? Hana studied her console. They're faster than us. If we run straight, they'll catch us in 6 hours. Then we don't run straight, Deho said. He pointed at the star chart. There, that asteroid field. Can you navigate through it? Hana looked at the data. The field was dense. Thousands of rocks spinning in chaotic patterns. Maybe, if we're lucky. And them? Their ship is bigger. Less maneuverable. They'll have a harder time. Then that's what we do. They changed course toward the asteroid field. The Prophet's Edge followed. Sangwook sent more messages, threats mixed with promises. Deho ignored them all. They entered the field at full speed. Immediately, rocks appeared all around them. Hana's hands flew across the controls. The ship twisted and turned, dodging impacts by meters. An asteroid the size of a house spun past, missing them by centimeters. Behind them, the Prophet's Edge followed. But Sangwook's ship was having trouble. It was too big, too slow. They clipped an asteroid, shields flaring. Then another. Damage reports showed on their systems. They're falling behind, Hana reported. Keep going, Deho said. They spent 4 hours in that field. 4 hours of constant danger, constant motion. Hana never stopped, never slowed. Her skills kept them alive. Every dodge was perfect. Every turn was exactly right. Finally, they emerged on the other side. Behind them, the Prophet's Edge was damaged. Shields were failing. They were leaking atmosphere, but they were still coming. They won't give up, Yunwu observed. The conglomerate paid them too much. Then we need to make sure they can't follow, Tejan said. He looked at Deho. I have an idea, but it's dangerous, and tell me. We vent our cargo bay, make it look like we're dumping waste, but we fill some containers with fuel cells rigged to explode. When the Prophet's Edge gets close, we detonate them remotely. Will that stop them? It'll damage them badly enough that they'll have to turn back for repairs. But if I miscalculate, the explosion could hit us too. Deho thought about it. They had come so far. They were more than halfway to Haven's Gate. But if they didn't stop the Prophet's Edge now, Sangwook would keep chasing them. Do it, Deho said. Tejan spent an hour rigging the trap. They dumped containers into space, making them look like garbage. The Prophet's Edge approached cautiously. Then Greed won out. Sangwook probably thought they were hiding something valuable in the containers. When the enemy ship was close enough, Taejin pressed the detonator. The explosion lit up space. The shockwave hit the Prophet's Edge hard. Their shields collapsed. Hull plates buckled. Systems failed. The ship began tumbling out of control, but the blast also hit the Pioneer. Alarms screamed. The engine room flooded with warnings. Taejin ran from station to station, fighting fires and rerouting power. "We're losing engine 3, he shouted, "and the skip drive is damaged. Can you fix it?" Daeho asked. "Yes, but it'll take time, and we need to land somewhere to do the repairs right." Hana checked her navigation data. "There's a planet nearby. Third one in this system. It has an atmosphere. We can land there." They limped toward the planet. Behind them, the Prophet's Edge was also heading for repairs, but in the opposite direction. They had bought themselves time. But Daeho knew Sangwook would come again. Men like that never gave up. The planet was cold and barren. They landed in a valley surrounded by ice and rock. Taejin began repairs immediately. It would take 2 weeks, he said. Maybe more. That night, the crew sat together in the galley. They were battered and tired. "But they were alive. Why are we doing this?" Taejin asked suddenly. "Really? Why are we risking our lives for dead people?" Daeho thought about his answer carefully. "Because someone has to. Because a woman made a promise 4,000 years ago, and no one was there to help her keep it. Because 3,000 people died dreaming of something better, and maybe we can't give them their lives back, but we can give them their dream." "Because it's right. Is that enough?" Taejin asked. "Is being right enough reason to die?" "Yes," Hana said quietly. "It is," the others nodded. Even Hyunwoo, who didn't need to risk anything, agreed. They were committed now. All of them. For better or worse, they would see this through to the end. Daeho sold almost everything he owned. The Wandering Star brought him 30,000 credits. His salvage equipment brought another 20. It wasn't enough. Haven's Gate was 89 light-years away through dangerous space. He needed a better ship, supplies for months of travel, and most importantly, he needed help. He docked at Frontier Station 12, a massive ring of metal spinning in the darkness between stars. The station was crowded with miners, traders, and people running from things they didn't want to talk about. Daeho walked through the market district, looking at ships he couldn't afford. Then he met Hana. She was young, maybe 25, sitting alone in a dark corner of a bar. Her uniform marked her as a navigator, but the corporate logo had been torn off. Daeho had heard about her. Everyone on the station had. She was the navigator who refused orders and got blacklisted for it. "You're Hana," Daeho said, sitting down across from her. She looked up. Her eyes were hard. "Who's asking?" "Someone with a job. A real one. Not hauling cargo or running numbers. Something that matters." Hana laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm blacklisted. No corporation will touch me. I'm worthless." Daeho pulled out a data pad and slid it across the table. "Read that." Hana picked it up. Her eyes moved across the screen. Daeho watched her face change as she read Captain Yoonji's final message. When she finished, she looked up. "This is real? I found the ship 2 weeks ago. Everything in that message is true. 3,000 people died in their sleep, dreaming of a world they never reached. I'm going to finish what they started. I'm going to take their genetic material to Haven's Gate and start their colony. Even if it takes everything I have." "Why?" Hana asked. "They're dead. They've been dead for thousands of years. Because someone made a promise," Daeho said simply. "And I'm someone. Are you interested?" Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Yes, I'm interested." Finding Taejin was harder. The engineer was working on the station's waste recycling system, a job far beneath his skills. He was a big man with scarred hands and eyes that had seen too much. Daeho found him in the maintenance tunnels, covered in grease. "I need an engineer," Daeho said. "Not interested," Taejin replied without looking up. "I'm going to Haven's Gate, 89 light-years, through uncharted space. The ship needs to survive, which means I need someone who knows how to keep engines running when they should fail." Taejin stopped working. "Haven's Gate is in the Outer Colonies region, near the war zones. You've been there. I was stationed there during the war. I watched colonies die because we couldn't get there in time. I watched people suffocate because their life support failed and we didn't have parts to fix it." Taejin's voice was flat, empty. Why would I want to go back? Deho told him about the Eternal Covenant, about the promise, about the 3,000 people who never got their chance. This time we can save them, Deho said. Not their bodies, but their dream, their legacy. We can give them what they died hoping for. Tejan was quiet for a long time. Then he picked up his tools. When do we leave? Minji was easier. The xenobiologist practically jumped at the opportunity. She was a scientist working on the station, studying samples brought back from distant worlds. When Deho told her about Haven's Gate, her eyes lit up. Haven's Gate was surveyed 4,000 years ago. It's been on the protected list ever since. No one has touched it. No colonies, no mining, nothing. It's completely pristine. Minji pulled up star charts on her computer. The biosphere is intact. We could study how life develops without human interference, and to establish a colony there correctly, to do it right from the beginning, to build in harmony with the existing ecosystem, instead of destroying it. That's incredible. So you'll come? Are you kidding? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yes, absolutely yes. The last member of the crew found them. Hyunwoo was a synthetic human, an artificial intelligence in a humanoid body. He approached Deho in the station's main plaza. I heard about your mission, Hyunwoo said. His voice was calm and pleasant. I would like to join your crew. Why? Deho asked. I was created to be a colony administrator. My programming is designed to establish settlements, manage resources, and help humans build new homes. But the colony I was assigned to failed before I could serve. I have spent 7 years on this station, working in data management. It is not fulfilling. Your mission would allow me to fulfill my original purpose. You're a synthetic, Deho said. Some people don't trust synthetics. I know. But I'm also very good at what I do. And I will work for no pay. I only want to serve my purpose. Deho looked at the synthetic man. There was something honest in his artificial eyes. Something genuine. Welcome to the crew. With the team assembled, Deho used his remaining credits to buy a ship. It wasn't new. It wasn't pretty. But it was solid. A medium transport called the Pioneer. It had good engines and enough space for cargo. Tejan spent a week going over every system, making repairs and improving what he could. Then the Gaian conglomerate arrived. They sent a representative, a smooth-talking man in an expensive suit. He met Deho in his ship's cargo bay. Captain Deho, I represent the Gaian conglomerate. We understand you've discovered something valuable. Ancient coordinates. A pristine world. We'd like to make you an offer. Not interested, Deho said. The man smiled. You haven't heard the offer yet. 5 million credits, plus a bonus of 2 million if the world is as valuable as we think it is. That's enough money to retire anywhere in human space. You could live like a king. The coordinates aren't for sale. The smile faded. Captain, be reasonable. You're planning to travel 89 light-years through dangerous space with a small crew and limited resources. The chances of success are minimal. We have the resources to properly colonize Haven's Gate. We can honor those dead colonists better than you can. By strip mining their dream world, Minji stepped forward. I've read about the Gaian conglomerate. You don't establish colonies. You extract resources and leave dead planets behind. The representative's face hardened. That's a very serious accusation. It's the truth, Minji said. The man left. But 2 days later, someone broke into the Pioneer while the crew was off the ship. They tried to steal the navigation data. Tejan's security systems caught them, but the message was clear. The conglomerate wanted those coordinates, and they weren't going to give up. We need to leave, Hana said. Now, before they try something worse. They weren't fully supplied. They didn't have all the equipment they needed. But Deho agreed. They loaded the biovault from the Eternal Covenant onto the Pioneer and prepared to depart. The night before they left, Deho returned to the ancient colony ship one last time. He walked through the corridors looking at the frozen faces in their pods. He stopped at each one, reading the names written on small plaques. Families, parents, and children. Old and young. He found Captain Yunji's body on the command deck. She was still in her chair, hands still on the armrest. I'm going to finish it, Deho said to her. I don't know if we'll succeed. I don't know if we'll even survive the journey. But I promise you I will try. I will give everything I have to honor your promise. You have my word. He stood there for a long moment looking at the dead captain. Then he turned and walked back to his ship. The Pioneer launched the next morning. They cleared the station and activated the skip drive. The stars stretched and bent around them as they jumped toward Haven's Gate, toward a promise 4,000 years old, toward something that mattered. The alarm woke Deho from another dreamless sleep. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the screen above his bunk. Something big was out there, hidden inside an asteroid. After 30 years of pulling dead ships from space, he knew when his scanner found something special. Deho climbed out of bed and walked to the bridge of his small salvage ship. The wandering star was old, just like him. The walls were stained. The air recycler made strange noises and half the buttons didn't work anymore. But it was home. It had been home for 3 decades. He sat in his worn captain's chair and studied the readings. The asteroid was massive, floating alone in the debris field, but inside it metal gleamed. A ship, a very old ship. "Well," Deho said to the empty bridge, "let's see what you are." He spent 3 days cutting through the asteroid. His mining laser carved away rock bit by bit. Deho worked slowly and carefully. One wrong move could damage whatever was inside. He ate protein bars and drank recycled water and didn't sleep much. Something told him this was important. On the 3rd day, he broke through. His lights illuminated a hull made of metal he didn't recognize. The design was ancient, nothing like modern ships. Deho's hands shook slightly as he maneuvered his ship closer. He attached a docking tube and put on his environment suit. The airlock opened with a hiss. Deho stepped into darkness. His helmet lights cut through the black. He was in a corridor, wide and tall. Frost covered everything. The cold went through his suit and into his bones. He walked forward, his boots crunching on ice that had formed over thousands of years. Then he saw them. The pods. They lined both sides of the corridor, stacked 3 high. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Each pod had a small window, and behind each window was a face. Frozen. Dead. Deho had seen death before, plenty of it. But never like this. These weren't soldiers or criminals. These were families, children, old people. All of them sleeping forever. He found a wall panel and wiped away the frost. Words appeared, stamped into the metal. The Eternal Covenant. Colony ship. Launched 30 hours 25 CE. Destination, Haven's Gate. Deho did the math in his head. It was now 6814 CE. This ship had been lost for almost 4,000 years. He explored deeper into the vessel. Every corridor was the same. Pods and bodies and frozen dreams. The ship's power was long dead. Life support had failed millennia ago. Everyone aboard had died in their sleep, never knowing they would never wake up. Finally, Deho reached the command deck. It was larger than the rest of the ship, with tall windows that looked out at space. A captain's chair sat in the center, and in that chair was another body. A woman, frozen like the rest, her hand still resting on the arm of her chair. Deho found the ship's computer core. It was old technology, but still intact. He connected his portable unit and began downloading data. It took hours. The files were massive, compressed in formats that hadn't been used in centuries. While he waited, Deho explored the command deck. He found a personal log recorder on a shelf. It was a small device, probably the captain's. He took it back to his ship and spent the next day repairing it and converting its data. When it finally played, a woman's voice filled his cabin. "This is Captain Yunji of the Eternal Covenant. Final log entry?" The woman sounded tired. "Very tired. Our power systems have failed. We're dead in space and I can't fix it. I've tried everything. The colonists are in cryo-sleep. They don't know yet. They won't know. The pods will keep them frozen for a while, but when the backup power dies, they'll die too. All of them. All 3,247 people who trusted me to get them to Haven's Gate." There was a long pause. Deho heard the woman breathing. "We left Earth because there was no room left. Too many people, not enough space. These families sold everything they owned for a chance at a new world. They went to sleep dreaming of open skies and fresh air, and land they could call their own. I promised them. I promised all of them, especially the children. I told them they would wake up on Haven's Gate." Another pause. "Longer this time. If anyone finds this ship, please. I'm begging you. We saved everything. Genetic samples, records, memories, DNA. It's all in the biovault in Section 7. The coordinates to Haven's Gate are in the navigation computer. The world is still there. It was surveyed. It's perfect for human life. Please finish what we started. Please give these people their dream, even if they can't live it themselves. This is my last request. This is my promise that I couldn't keep. Maybe you can keep it for me." The recording ended. Deho sat in silence for a long time. He looked around his small, dirty ship. He looked at his reflection in a dark screen. He was 53 years old. His hair was gray. His face was lined. He had spent 3 decades alone in space, pulling apart dead ships and selling their pieces. He had no family, no friends, no purpose except survival. He played the recording again and again. He listened to Yunji's voice, heard the pain in it, the guilt, the desperate hope that someone would care enough to finish her mission. Daiho stood up and walked back to the Eternal Covenant. He made his way to Section 7 and found the biovault. It was a massive chamber filled with storage units. Each unit contained genetic material carefully preserved. He checked the seals. After almost 4,000 years, they were still intact. The samples were still viable. He downloaded the navigation data. Haven's Gate was 89 light-years away. It had never been colonized. The coordinates were still good. Deho returned to his ship and sat in his captain's chair. He looked at the data, at the faces of the dead colonists, at the map showing the way to Haven's Gate. He thought about Captain Yunji's promise. He thought about 3,000 people who died dreaming of a world they would never see. Then he made a decision. Maybe the first real decision he had made in 30 years. He would finish it. He would take the biovault to Haven's Gate. He would honor the promise, not because anyone was paying him, not because he would profit from it, but because it was right, because a woman 4,000 years dead had asked for help, and somehow across all that time he had heard her. Deho began making plans. He would need a crew. He would need supplies. He would need a better ship. This would take everything he had saved, every credit he had earned in 3 decades of salvage work. But some promises were worth keeping, even if they weren't yours. Even if they were almost 4,000 years old,